Hi, welcome to Overbox Guitar Tuitions. I've got a classic album inspection. 35 years ago today, November the 4th, 1986, Yngwie Malmsteen released his third album, Trilogy. So this was the fifth album he'd appeared on because he'd done Steeler, the debut, and then No Pro from Rock and Roll, Alcatraz. And then two solo albums, Rising Force, which is mostly instrumental, but with two vocal tracks, which aren't that great to be honest. And then Marching Out, which probably vies with this album for a lot of people is his best studio album, and the album after Odyssey. I actually watched a Sea of Tranquility recently, and they were picking some Malmsteen albums, and one person, there's three of them, one picked Trilogy #1, one picked Marching Out, and the other person picked Odyssey. Odyssey, I don't think the playing's is good, but it's got great songwriting on it. But anyway, Trilogy, this is my favourite Malmsteen album of all time. This is the one that got me into Malmsteen, so a little bit of if you've seen my Yngwie Malmsteen's parts 1 and 2 on this channel, it's under the Botbrack name. I just go through all the albums. So I probably told that story, but I'll just say again, like, I heard Malmsteen, I think there's a show called The Tube and Alcatraz, or there's a feature on them. So I heard Hiroshima Mon Amour, but I haven't quite connected with the neoclassical thing. And then sometime near this time, probably around September, I got Tony McAlpine's Edge of Insanity album. That kind of turned to something neoclassical style. And when this album came out, I kind of had it in my mind that it came out earlier than this, but a friend in school bought it. He taped it at home, and he had like a pale blue Sony Walkman. So he had a proper Sony Walkman. I just had a knockoff one, Sanyo. But he goes, "Oh, I've got the Malmsteen album." So he gave us, and he had orange headphones. I put it on. You Don't Remember, I'll Never Forget came out of the speakers, and Life Was Never the Same. When the solo came in, I was just like, oh my god, I've died and got to heaven. Got the album shortly after that, and got the other Malmsteen stuff. And as I've gone through life, I've started to enjoy those early Malmsteens more for their songwriting, or their songwriting as much as their guitar soloing, and actually really like Yngwie's songwriting. I like all his albums up until Facing the Animal. After that, I just like, but I kind of, went into the 90s a little more a while ago, and I think, there's some good stuff there. But anyway, let's get into the nitty gritty of Trilogy. Recorded at the Village Studio in Los Angeles. It's just under 41 minutes long, 9 tracks. So again, still in that pre-CD era where albums are a daft length. Of course, it's got Yngwie on the front, battling a dragon. It's actually quite a cool cover. It had quite a nice textured sleeve. So the big change on this, you've got the Johansson brothers, awesome. Yngwie plays the bass, but Mark Bowles comes in on vocals. So he'd fallen out with Jeff Scott Soto, which I think's a shame. I think Mark Bowles does a really good job on this, but I think Jeff Scott Soto's got an extra. There's a timbre to his voice that was a perfect match for Malmsteen, and Jeff Scott Soto could have, as Malmsteen went more AOR, brought in some AOR elements like on the Odyssey album, Jeff Scott Soto could have handled all that and made that transition. Having said that, when he got Jolene Turner in, that did make things more AOR, and that was cool, and Jolene Turner was great. So these singers are great, and Bowles is no exception. So opening track, 4.5 minutes, You Don't Remember, I'll Never Forget. This is probably my favourite Yngwie song of all time. I love the pumping riff. I love the chorus. Vocals great. The solo in the middle's amazing, sort of really emotional for me. And then the way it breaks down at the end, and the fade out solo is beautiful. The solos are mixed very high on this album, but I think it's his best sounding record at this point. I mean, Rising Force sounds like it's mixed in a cardboard box, and Marching Out's not much better. They never had great production. That's because Yngwie insists on producing himself, and the Odyssey album sounded better because he got Jeff Glicksman in, much better drums, although the guitar sounds a bit chainsawy. So I'm not sure, Facing Animal's got a pretty good sound again because it's Chris Sangarides, so I just wish he'd get a co-producer, engineer in. Anyway, a great track, my favourite Malmsteen track of all time. So track number 2's Liar, 409. So this, this is probably the first fast up-tempo Malmsteen song. He does these songs all the time now, but just thinking about it, Marching Out, there's up-tempo numbers, but not a flinging double kick like this, and there's nothing like this on Rising Force. I suppose tempo-wise, too young to die, too drunk to live, off No Problem from Rock and Roll. But this is kind of faster, but I love this. It's got great vocals. The solo's ludicrous. He's got an amazing arpeggio bit, and he does this, he's just some reverse groups of 6. And I love the end of this song. It kind of does the ending, and he does a lot of frenzy, and then goes bang, and it stops. And it's that great thing Malmsteen does, where he kind of almost speeds up in the middle of a run. So people, he flourishes. He's like a maestro. It's like that, a sweep. So that's a fantastic track. I mean, again, it's a track I've grown to love more. I'd say when I first got the album, I didn't like it as much. Did not like it. Third track is one of the album's classics, Queen in Love. This is 4 minutes and 4 again. Good tight arrangement. Really good grinding riff. I mean, the quality of the guitar rim sound, this is better. I mean, this is, I think the bishiness of the drum sounds lets it down a bit. If it had like the Odyssey drum sound with maybe just a little less reverb, you know, it's a good sound. It's a great track. I love the way the verse goes into cut time. Great chorus, great vocal from Mark Bowles. The solo's fucking ludicrously brilliant. He goes when he does the classic Malmsteen thing. He plays in the minor key. Then he goes to the dominant, the fifth. And the minor key plays the Phrygian dominant mode over the top. I mean, you know, this is in the time when this wasn't yet a cliche for Yngwie. I mean, if you look back, I've heard people say you can hear all his licks on the first two albums. I mean, the Discounting Steeler, I think the production on Steeler and the performance isn't really there for me. You know, the production masks so much, you know, it kind of clutters Yngwie's vision. But on No Problem from Rock and Roll, it's probably got his purest tone, probably his best tone for me. And then on Rising Force, you know, you can hear those licks and marching out. So I can see if someone heard this now, they'd probably go, oh, it's just another Malmsteen solo. But he wasn't yet at that point where we might say that's a typical Malmsteen solo. So he did some cool kind of tapping bit, and there's a cool harmonic fill as well. But it's a really good song, really good arrangement. You know, I suppose people buying the sound would just be guitar lovers, but I genuinely think people who just like power metal and like European sounding metal would love this. I think Malmsteen doesn't do himself any favours, because the focus was all on him as a guitarist, and it detracted from his songs. There was this thing, it's out of date and it sounds like Rainbow, but in actual fact he was ahead of his time, because he was very influenced by Rainbow and things like that, but his sound was the sort of birth of European power metal, really. Then you got Crying. There's two instrumentals on this album. This is beautiful, one of his best instrumentals. This is his first kind of really ballady instrumental. It's really mature. He kind of backs off a bit. He does some lovely stuff where he's backing off the volume. There's a lot of taste on this track. It's the kind of thing that's missing now. The solos on this album have taste and have structure in amongst the incredible chops, which I think's got weaned. He's weaned it out of his playing. He's become a sort of a version of Malmsteen that he thinks people want. I don't know if that's a way of describing it. He's made so many albums. I mean, crazy. But this is 5 minutes and 4, so a little longer, but it takes a journey. It's got some cool nylon string, you know, flat picking on this, and it's a beautiful track. And last track on side one is Fury. Again, this has got a double kick, you know, like Liar. Take your pick, which you think's better. It's a great track. Really cool sort of bridge chorus on this, where he kind of does a tapping arpeggio, and that's kind of the kind of melody, the chord backing for the chorus. His bass playing is really good, and he's using a lot of neoclassical, you know, Baroque cycling of fifths and so on. Solo's ludicrous on this, and again, like Liar at the end, it does this, you know, big rock ending. Fantastic. So that was side one. I think it doesn't dip in quality for me. You know, I could listen to it now, cracking. So side two opens with Fire, 4 minutes and 12. This is a great track. So this uses inversions, first inversions to second inversions on the D, G and B. So people will know that as the All Right Now shape. So this is really cool. It's a great riff. And then he pedals the E tone over his inversions. It's really pounding. Good. I like the way the verse breaks down. It's got a nice kind of keyboard line. I should mention, like, Jens Johansson like trades off on Fury and Liar, and he's immense. You know, we forget how good the Johansson brothers were, especially Jens. Bowles' vocals great. It's got a really catchy chorus, quite majory. This is the track that predates Heaven Tonight, so the type of riff on this is what he kind of develops it into the Heaven Tonight riff and goes full sort of commercial pop metal on that track. Sorry. Solo, did I tell you it was ludicrous? Yeah, it's amazing. He does this beautiful, he does a really great pivot lick on this in the middle of the solo. And yeah, he doesn't kind of, he kind of goes for the Phrygian dominant thing, but it's a cool chromatic bit in it. A little bit bluesy sort of thing, and then it kind of breaks down in a cut time epic bit. Again, showing a lot of taste, showing structure. He did some great pentatonic major licks on this. I think this might be one of the first tracks where he's bringing out that sort of more majory pentatonic sound. Like a track like On the Run, he's doing a pentatonic minor sort of stuff, blues stuff. I think we forget, like Malmsteen, although he shreds when he blueses, he has got a good blues feel. You can hear his Hendrix and Blackmore influence coming out, and he can do it. Then you've got Magic Mirror. This is a more kind of up mid-tempo. It's pretty ferocious, this track. It's got an amazing pivot lick in it. These licks I still teach. I still show them people as part of my teaching repertoire. The solo's amazing. Really good chorus. Great pre-chorus. These songs are well structured. 3 minutes 53, it's under 4 minutes. They're all really well written songs. Really good. Next track's the weakest track on the album. This is kind of the one where, when I used to listen to it, I was like, yeah, but I do like it. It's kind of dungeonistic, Dark Ages, got a slower tempo, so it kind of fits in really well. Dark Ages, it's all about, the Stone Age, I don't know, or maybe medieval times. There's a cool solo, there's a cool kind of whammy swoop on this. Bowles' vocals are really good again. I think, Mark Bowles has spent a top job. I think when I was referring back to Jeff Scott Soto, I think Jeff Scott Soto could sing ballads better, and he could have brought more AOR. And I think Mark Bowles has got kind of one thing he does really well, and it's kind of that Dio power metal thing. But he's great on it. And then it finishes with what may be his greatest instrumental ever. I mean, people, they talk about Far Beyond the Sun and Black Star, and I like those. They're great. But Trilogy Suite, Opus 5, is, it's split into 3 movements, and they're all different, all really effective. You've got the first one, which has got this amazing open string G pull-off thing, cool arpeggio. Then he kind of breaks down into a kind of sort of flamenco-influenced classical baroque. Lots of flat picking runs on the acoustic, and then it goes into a kind of more Deep Purple groove, but some cool... he uses that, Jens Johansson uses that keyboard sound, it's like human voices, which is very beloved of power metal. Amazing run at the end, he does a fast run, and then he mirrors it later on the acoustic. Brilliant track. So that ends the album, and it did well for Malmsteen. I mean, he was featured in Kerrang at the time. Remember, he said, "Is this the greatest guitarist in the world?" Yeah, he probably was. But it made number 44 on the Billboard charts, and then Odyssey, the next time, made number 40. I think Heaven Tonight got airplay. So he was in that position where if he'd stuck with a singer and kind of formalised a direction and found the right producer, he could have sort of gone gold. I mean, this album's not gold, but it must have sold kind of 300,000. He's popular in Japan. He's always had a good sales figures considering. Mark Bowles didn't stick around. Jolene Turner came in. He didn't stick around. He got Goran Edman for 2 albums. He was actually really good. And so on. I mean, he's always had good singers up until recent times. But but I love this album. It's my favourite Malmsteen album. But if someone came up to me and said, "I prefer marching," I've got friends who prefer marching, I would understand that. Maybe some people would prefer Odyssey because I like the Jolene Turner thing, and I would understand that. Maybe people like Rising Force just because it's the first Shred album. So it depends where you come in on Malmsteen, at what point he finds you and you find him. And for me, it was on this album. Like I said, I'd seen him on the Stars video as well, so I was aware of him. I don't know why I didn't buy it sooner, but I think reading about him in Kerrang and the sort of publicity about him kind of put me off, They said he's a Richie Blackmore clone, and he was kind of full of himself, which, he copied how Richie Blackmore dressed, and he is full of himself, but in a funny way. I kind of always laugh about that. Okay, so 35 years old today, big part of my life growing up, and still an album I go to. Yngwie Malmsteen Trilogy. Thanks very much. Remember to share and subscribe. Thank you.